AAA on August 22nd in 9 games at 419. Yankees said, get on up here. Play for us. Driven out to left field and deep. Going back, Alvarez turning, looking. Welcome to the big league. See ya. A home run for Dominguez in his first big league at bat.
For about 24 hours, kind of very on the last 5-6 hours where we thought it was in physical review, is complete. Juan Soto has been traded to the Yankees along with Trent Grisham. I strongly believe it is the 5 names we heard all afternoon.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the newest edition of the Muchachos podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and tonight we got my brother from another mother, Danny. What's good, bro?
What's good, everybody? How you doing, man?
I'm chilling, man. Chilling. Let's get this party started. All right, yes, everybody, you guys know the deal by now. You know what's up. You know where to catch us at. You know what we're all about. Go check us out. All the audio platforms. Everybody watching, you know the drill. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Let us know what's up. You guys know places where we're all at. Don't got to tell you guys anymore what's happening, man. Go check us out on our website, www.bronxmuchachos.com. We got tons of things happening over there. And, of course, please go hit up SeatGeek because every time you go there, you're going to get great seats. Doesn't matter. We got playoff hockey going on. Thursday night, the Rangers are playing the Panthers. Go Rangers. Got to shut them down. You got great games happening on the West Coast as well. You got NBA basketball happening right now. I mean, it's all happening at the same time. So go check it out. SeatGeek, our promo code is Bronx Muchachos, all one word, all caps. You get $20 off your first order. So, Danny, Yankees are driving up the 405. They go from San Diego, where they kind of put a smackdown on the Padres. They kind of faltered a little bit the last game, but you know they drove into Anaheim because they in LA. They're in Anaheim, and all of a sudden, the offense went cold. You know, like what do you is it because is the change by bringing DJ back they kind of slow down? Because I don't think that's the case. I just think that they caught something happened. They're just in a little lull right now. You know, DJ's back, but I mean, you know, we got Volpe whose hitting streak is now legally able to drink. So, I mean, so take it. What's your thoughts on all that?
Well, I think the guys have done a really good job. Well, not the guys, the Angels, and you know, last couple of days with the Padres series, they've done a really good job with Juan Soto. Like, he's looked uncomfortable for the first time all year, right? He didn't look himself in San Diego for the most part. And despite the home run in game 1 in Anaheim, he's just been kind of like mediocre and really not being himself in the box, really dominating. So I think that's part of it. Aaron Judge has cooled off a little bit. Anthony Rizzo still hasn't really hit. Giancarlo Stanton's cooled off a little bit. But that's to be expected when you're making a West Coast trip. Granted, the Angels are terrible pitching wise, but sometimes it's about when you play a team versus who you play. So right now it's just a kind of a downturn for this Yankees offense. You wouldn't expect them to be nails all the time, right? It's tough. Baseball is a tough sport. There's a reason why we fail 7 out of 10 times and consider great. So, but they still find ways to win, and that's what matters. So, tonight's a big game. We don't want to lose the series to the Angels. Like, I'm kind of tired of that. They're a bad team. We want to see a Yankees victory this time around.
No, absolutely. I mean, especially as they continue on up the coast, going up to San Francisco, going to the San Francisco series on a good note that you took another series just to continue on. But on the flip side, where the offense is kind of cooled off a little bit, you know, that California cold air that's coming in, kind of killing the balls left and right for the Yankees. Pitching's still been nails. I mean, you want to talk about pitching. I mean, Nestor pitched pretty damn well. He didn't get the loss. I mean, it was a Clay Holmes thing, but not even really Clay Holmes. It was more Gleyber Torres. But you know, that's a whole nother ball game in and of itself. Nestor, and then you know I don't have anything else to say about Luis Gil. I mean, he went 8 innings. He went 8 innings yesterday. I mean, other than the fact that me especially, I was trying to put the two of them together as a title match of Heel versus Schmidt, and unfortunately, Schmidt is now injured, out 4 to 6 weeks with the lat strain. So that kind of runs him into exactly when Cole's coming back. During that time frame, Cole will be returning. So, now you're going to figure out what you're going to do with Schmidt. But I mean, I can't say anything else great about Luis Hill because he's doing it. They wanted him to go longer into innings. He went 8 innings yesterday, on Wednesday, and he just shoved. Like he was only at 90, at the end of 6 innings, he was in like 60 pitches or something like that. I mean, it was complete domination on a team. They have a decent offense. Like it's not that Angels aren't a bad offensive team. They got a decent offense, and he just turned around and said, "No, not tonight, boys. You guys are done tonight."
Yeah, and it's great to see the young guys really take a step forward. Like we mentioned Anthony Volpe a little bit later. We'll talk about him. We'll talk about him later as well. But man, Luis Hill, the way he's just come out and he's performing better than Garrett Cole did in his Cy Young year through his first 11 starts. Like he's got more K per 9, his ERA is lower, and he's got more wins. Like Luis Hill at this point in time is on a Cy Young trajectory. And it'll be really hard to get him out this rotation. Like I may get hate for this, but I still think he's a candidate to be the guy to get out the rotation once Garrett Cole comes back. But this Schmidt injury does really make things a little bit clearer, right? So by the time Schmidt is ready to go, it's 4 to 6 weeks of no throw, right? And then let's add another 4 weeks to ramp up because he's got to start from scratch again. So that gives us 2 months essentially, or 8 weeks. So a month and some change.
Month, probably 2.5 months, maybe.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yep. So yeah, we'll get some Cody Petit starts in there.
Will Warren probably get something?
Some
Yandere Gomez. I mean, they could kind of throw it around a little bit.
Yep. That 5th starter spot is going to be a rotating spot until we get our ace, our Cy Young award winner back. And then at that point in time, we'll see where Luis Hill is. Like, honestly, this was the greatest month for a pitcher, and you could argue in Yankees history. Like a .7 ERA. What Luis Hill has done has, like, it shocked baseball. No one expected this. We expected maybe the guy that we saw after his first 4, 5, 6 starts in the big leagues when he first came up, like inconsistent command, right? Inconsistent slider, inconsistent changeup. He's just taken all that and he said, "Screw you guys. I know what I could do. I'm an ace in this league," and he's showing it at least in the month of May.
No, absolutely. But even before then, like in the minor leagues, he showed what he could do in the minors. Granted, it's the minor leagues, and it is what it is when you talk about that. But he showed that there's a reason why when the debate was Luis Hill or Luis Medina, that's why they traded off Luis Medina as opposed to trading off Luis Hill. Like you could take a Luis Medina who had the stuff that he had was even better, more and more. We're talking easy flow and 102 out of Medina. You just never knew where any of those pitches were going, and that's still his MO. Like he was going to be destined for the bullpen while Hill had the chance to be in the starting rotation, and he's taken that opportunity now, and he's owned it. Like going forward, he's not going to be out of that starting rotation. He's gonna. I still think like 140 innings is the max. I mean, don't forget he only pitched 25 innings the past 2 years. That's a huge jump, and as much as we're going to sit here and everyone wants the chip, everyone wants the ring. Do I want one? It comes down to, do you want one ring or do you want multiple rings? Because you can then take Cole at prime, and this is towards the end of prime, Garrett Cole, and piggyback with a guy at the beginning with Hill, and let him run the course, and let the two of them be your horses with a Rodon smack dab in the middle, kind of throwing something different at everyone. A Nestor right behind you, a Clark Schmidt. Then you can even talk at that point about a Will Warren coming in and replacing somebody, a Yandere Gomez coming in. When Chase Hampton gets his shoulder better, him coming across. There's a Clayton Beater coming in there. The depth is now there, and there's still more coming. and there's still more coming in the lowers. I mean, you still got Henry Lalane, who's injured right now, but he's around. He'll be making some waves. You got Lagrange coming, who should make some waves too, whether starting rotation or bullpen. You got Jerson Alejandro coming up, and he's in the FCL right now as well. I mean, we're talking guys moving, but you don't need them right now. You just let them build up and get the arm strength.
Yep. Luis Hill lowered his ERA from 3.19 at the beginning of May to 1.9. Yeah. I think it's now top 5 in baseball. So, and like let's look at the walks, right? The walks have been a thing, right? In the month of April, he had 4 starts with more than 3 walks, right? He had a 7-walk game in there against Toronto in the month of April. In the month of May, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in 7 starts, he's only had 1 start where he's allowed more than 2 walks, and that was the day he hit the Astros and struck out 5 over 6. Like, that's what's exciting is the command. Like, even yesterday, the fastball was up to 98, but the changeup was interesting to me because it had more depth to it. He was throwing at 89 to 91 instead of like the normal 94 that we've been seeing. So I was like, okay, there's an adjustment there. Like, instead of it acting more like a changeup, a sinker, it's got that depth that a real changeup has. And the slider was even moving yesterday pretty good too, which resulted in 8 innings, 9 Ks. Like, dude's a stud, and he's growing. And that's scary for the rest of baseball.
Well, and don't forget now, you have 2 major. In all honesty, you have 2 pitching coaches with him, because you got Matt Blake, who's giving him the shapes and this, that, and the other. But then you got Garrett Cole. The minute he comes into the dugout, and he's sitting there talking to him, and he's just talking baseball, he's talking pitching. So he's now getting that. He's getting that advanced. He's getting an advanced degree in pitching right now. Kind of like back in the day with Luis Severino, when they wanted him, when they were pushing him to be the dude, they had El Duque sit down next to him during spring training. But just download everything you could do. Just teach this kid what you can do and what you did, and just let him feast on it. So, I mean, it's not, it's something that's great for baseball, something great for the Yankees. But like you said, it's something that he's now going to be getting to the point, because I think he's at 68, 69 innings pitched or something like that.
63 and a third.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's getting to that point where you're going to have to begin to look at it. Like, maybe just come the All-Star break, you kind of begin to reel him back a little bit. Trade deadline, you kind of pull him back some and just say, hey, you're gonna go for the rest of the year at this point, or maybe even starting in the beginning of July. It's 4 innings for 4 or 5 and dive or something like that, or 4 and fly. That's what you're gonna do. I think that's when a guy like Carl Schmidt comes back, then you just put him not really at the pen, but kind of like that thing where it's, hey, Luis Seal's getting 3, you're getting 5, and then you can have that's your bullpen right there, and that's your 2 guys that you kind of piggyback. So you get 8 innings, possibly 9 innings out of the whole thing, because Clark Schmidt has shown that he could actually pitch deeper into games as well. And that's not a knock against Schmidt, but it's actually going to stop the both of them from possibly getting injured. It's going to work for Heel, so he can stick around, get into that, go into the postseason as the dude, or as the second dude, and you go from there.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting to see. Like, I am not jealous of Aaron Boone and his decision making in this process at all. Like, it's a great problem to have. I wish, like, every year we had this problem, but it is a really difficult choice to make. So, and the
crazy thing is, I don't even know how many people, like, you didn't think that with coming out of spring training, knowing that your ace wasn't going to be there, maybe the Yankees to be in second place or third place, maybe.
Yeah,
one of those 2 spots, not first, and not. Even with the offense, I thought the offense was going to be, obviously have the uptick with a Soto, with a Verdugo, having more lefties in that lineup, kind of work, kind of spreading everything out, and the pitchers can't really kind of hone in on how to pitch everybody, because everyone's going to be so different. But now it's like the pitching's there, and the hitting, and then the pitching, because now everyone's feeding off each other in that rotation, and it's a wonderful thing to see. And then You come in there, and the next thing you know, the big dog's going to come back, and the big dog's going to come back with a vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's ready to go. He's rearing. He's ready to go. He's locked in. They gotta tone him down. He's already throwing 95 plus in bullpens, and Matt Blake is like, bro, enough. Like 95 and below.
Yeah, he was in Tampa on Thursday. He threw, I think, 48 to 50 pitches, and he was throwing everything. He wasn't just throwing fastballs. He threw all the entire arsenal. Mm-hmm. So I mean, and it's not just in the bullpen. It was a lot. It was live batting. So
yep.
He's getting there. I mean, he does a couple more of those, and maybe get 75, and then put him out there against in games.
Apparently, Boone has spoken about him starting rehab potentially next week. So that was a report that I saw, where Garrett Cole potentially starting a rehab assignment by next week. So if he goes down to Tampa, or he goes down to Somerset or whatever, pitches 3 ups, like that'll be huge for Garrett Cole, and just to see how the ball is just coming out of his hand. So I'm excited. But we were talking about offense a little bit earlier, talking about Anthony Volpe.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't do Muchacho of the Week last week, but we're making sure to do it this week. And the Muchacho of the Week is Anthony Volpe. All right, like what he has done for the month of May over these 21 games were consecutive with the hit. It's been amazing to see. But in this week alone, he's raised his batting average 9 points. Start the week off at 279. He's hitting 288 as of the 29th. He's raised his OPS up to 800. Right, like he's getting on base. He's not striking out. Like Anthony Volpe has arrived, right? He's here. He's here to stay. You could argue that he's a top 5 shortstop in all of baseball right now, right? If we go Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt, Mookie Betts, Anthony Volpe and Cordes War is right there with the best of them. We actually have 3 guys in the top 10 in WAR: Anthony Volpe, Aaron Judge, and Juan Soto. Our top 3 hitters. And they are setting the table for this offense and for this team to go out there and win every day. And Anthony Volpe is at the top of that lineup, being the guy that we all thought, last year we thought we were going to have this type of Anthony Volpe. We didn't get him. But he needed those struggles last year to make him who he is today. And I'm here for it. He's a stud, and he's our Muchacho of the Week.
That is, he's been doing really well offensively. He's been killing it offensively. I've said before, I was never a big fan of him when they moved him to the number 1 spot. I still think that his speed becomes a hindrance for the other guys like a Judge and a Soto, in the sense of that teams can easily pitch around them as opposed to pitch to them, and that's what I say. But until all these other teams prove that, until it's proven otherwise, I mean, he's gonna steal some bases. It seems like he's kind of taken the foot off the gas. Like he's not stealing. He hasn't been as aggressive on the base paths in the sense of stealing bases like he was last year. And I think that's because of him being in the number 1 spot. I think that's why if you have him like the 6, 7, 8 hole, like he could do things like Acuna Jr. He could go 20 and 50 like he did that one season in AA. You know what I mean? Like he has that in him to do that. So there's a lot that he can do. Definitely I think towards the end of the year we can have this conversation of where he truly ranks in at least the AL when it comes to shortstops for the American League, because there's a lot of good shortstops in the American League. Even down in Houston, like Jeremy Pena is having a really good year for him. Down there too. So I mean, there's a lot of guys, but I think the cream of the crop in the class of the shortstops is now fully with Gunnar Henderson and Bobby Witt Jr., and the 2 of them are going to go duking that out for the 1-2 punch and the 1-2 title for a good decade at least.
And just to add, like we were lucky enough to witness A-Rod, Jeter, Nomar, right, in their primes. And, Anthony Volpe, he doesn't have the ceiling that like a Derek Jeter had, right? They're the same type of profile hitter, right? Inside out approach at this point in time, thanks to his level swing. Volpe is probably better defensively than Jeter. Jeter had a much stronger arm, without a doubt. But Anthony Volpe has more range and all that. So if we're gonna go compare like shortstops of an era, and we look at those three guys, and we look at the top three guys in the American League now with Bobby Witt, Gunder, and Anthony, maybe you could compare Anthony to like Nomar Garciaparra in terms of like really, really good, just not Jeter and A-Rod, right? So, and it's not enough. Nomar Garciaparra had a great career, right? But A-Rod and Derek Jeter are Hall of Fame level type of dudes. I'm not sure if Gunnar Henderson and Bobby, it's so early to say that about both guys, but comparing the type of dynasties, the three, you definitely rank Nomar third, right? And those are points in time where maybe you could say like, hey, Nomar had some great years in Boston where he put up the homers and RBI numbers better than Jeter compared to A-Rod. So
I mean, there was one point that Nomar and Jeter were you had A-Rod as the number far head and shoulders above them as the number one guy because he had all those tools. Nomar and Jeter were really kind of flip-flopping between 2 and 3 for a while until Nomar, when Nomar got traded to the Dodgers, and then the injuries that kind of happened to him afterwards. Like he kind of that's when he fell apart a bit.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, it's a compelling conversation to have, and I think that it's something that we're going to continue to have throughout this year, just because Anthony Volpe's vaulted himself into that conversation, right?
Yes, I think so.
According to Fangraphs War, right? The number 1 shortstop, Bobby Witt. Number 2, Mookie Betts. Number 3, Gunnar Henderson. And number 4, Anthony Volpe, ahead of a guy like Ellie De La Cruz, who's uber talented out of Cincinnati, right? And you can even throw him into that conversation as being one of the top shortstops in baseball. But what Anthony Volpe has done defensively, like, oh my gosh. Like the play that he made on Wednesday, like
he's got the range. It's the arm strength that dive that he did was great.
He's
and that's the conversation the Yankee fans are going to have in years to come as we have a lot of stud shortstops coming through the system as well. And that's not just saying it because we're Yankee fans, but there's a lot of shortstops that are coming through this farm system, and they're going to gain a few more as well in the next few years, internationally and probably domestically too. So I mean, you're going to see a lot, and they're going to start putting the pressure on a guy like Volpe to see if he can, if he's the guy that should stay there long term. Because there's people that are already saying like there's a name out there that's going to push everybody off that spot. So. But this is not the time nor the place to talk about future like that. But speaking of minors and speaking of guys like that, we do have also, because we were on Monday, or earlier in the week, excuse me, we do have a minute. We have a quick minute in the minors, and one person we kind of want to highlight is Ben Rice. And for those watching right now, put something on the screen for everybody here. Ben Rice this past week. Playing against New Hampshire, he batted .300. He didn't play every game this past week because he's playing catcher. He's catching for most of the time, and I think personally that's because he's going to be used as a trade bait as opposed to taking over the first base job next year because of Anthony Rizzo and the issues Anthony Rizzo's having. But the nice thing to see with Ben Rice is the hitting. I mean, he's a 25-year-old. He's not like he's a prospect, but he's kind of not that kind of prospect that you're banking on. He's a more organizational talent right now and depth. He had a 25% walk rate, 15% strikeout rate. He had 3 home runs, 7 stakes. I mean, can't go wrong. And that's it with 20 at bats he had this past last week. So, Ben Rice is doing stuff that he's beginning to kind of get noticed for. I think that the catching position for him is kind of secondary because of Augustin Ramirez. And in the future, you're going to have Augustin and you're going to have Austin Wells as kind of like your tandem, left-right tandem right there. So you're going to see a couple young guys there be good to go for the future. But Ben Rice is a name to see. He's over in Somerset. For those who don't know, give him a watch. I think that he's going to be kind of like that guy that's going to be a name as like a second name, maybe a third name in the trade come the trade deadline when we do a trade, when we talk about that stuff, because catching, there's a absolute depth and dearth, of catching in the major leagues, and someone like that who can hit the ball and he can play first base, like you're gonna see him get named along the way. So that is our.
I just want to add also, he gets on base a bunch. 366 on base, 497 slug, good for 863 OPS, 12 bombs, 24 homers, 28 walks. So the eye is there, the power is there. Good combination to have, even at AA.
And he's a lefty bat, too. So you got to give. He's kind of he's too old to be someone. He's too old to be like that kind of guy, because he's not a college guy. He was a high school guy. So he's kind of past that point of, hey, we need to move. He's still in that range. I think he's past that point, but I still think he's someone that when you add him into, he's someone that's going to be looked at and added to a trade package to get somebody else.
Yep.
So speaking of people being shipped on and shipped out, we got a big adios to the most infamous, worst umpire in the world, Angel Hernandez. This past week announced his air quote retirement as he lost all of as he tried suing MLB plenty of times, saying that he was being discriminated against. That he was never a crew chief because he was a Cuban American, because he was a minority. That was thrown out. I think there's a saying going on. There's a rumor out there that he retired because he got a payout from MLB just to go away. His balls and strikes were quite possibly some of the worst calls in Major League Baseball history. And then you take into consideration the things he did in the field. Managers knew what was going on. Players knew. I think Cesis Bathia straight after one game said, the playoff game, said that he's the worst thing out there. Ozzie Guillen went up to him, asked him what he was doing. He asked him if he was drunk because nobody in their right mind could make a call the way he made that call. We've had Scott Sanders on here turn around saying that his big thing was he wanted to call the balk as many times on as many people as possible, and he was he's honestly the epitome of baseball, is him wanting the baseball light to be on him as opposed to the players, and he did it in the worst times. I think it was the 2018 ALCS or ALDS, I forget which one it is, and he was the first base umpire, and he had 3 calls in that game reversed. That's how bad.
Yes.
And it wasn't like it was bang bang plays. It was 3 calls that were reversed because he was so bad. All right. So
like some people are really good people, but they're just terrible at their job. And
right.
That's Angel Hernandez. But we just had to separate the good person that he was, because Scott did say what a great guy he was and all this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, good for him. Like, if we're in a foxhole, maybe Angel Hernandez might be that guy. But if we're on a baseball diamond calling balls and strikes and making CFR calls, Angel Hernandez needs to be in the stands. Like, we cannot. I'm glad he's retired. He did his due diligence and he served whatever he did. Like, I don't know, man. He's kind of like a chief, like in the Navy, where it's like, hey, that guy, real good dude, but he treated everybody else like crap when he was on duty, or whatever the case may be. You always have those bosses that suck at their job, but you go into a foxhole with them. But it's good riddance. The game is better off. We're not gonna have as many laughs, but the game is better off.
Well, here's a final good laugh. I don't know if you ever saw this. Will Clark gave an interview one time, and he talked about Angel Hernandez behind the plate, and there was a pitch out on the outside portion for Will Clark. Will Clark was left-handed bat, so we called strike. outside, and he turned to Angel and said, "Hey, is that as far as the pitcher can go?" He goes, "Yeah, that's as far as it can go." He goes, "Okay." Pitch was even further out. He called a strike. He turned to him and goes, "Angel, you just said he couldn't go further." He goes, "Oh, I messed that one up. I missed that one. I missed that one." He said later that night, goes out, sees Angel Hernandez in the pit in the umpire crew out there. He goes, tells the waitress, "I'm buying them a round of beers." He goes, bought him a round of beers, walked up to him, said hi, shook their hands, and Angel goes, "You gonna say anything else?" He goes, "Nope. See you at the ballpark tomorrow." He goes, and Will Clark said ever since then, the strike zone that Will Clark had was like this. He goes for 20.
Wow.
He goes, I got the best strike zone after spending $20 in beers. That's it.
So umpires can be bought. At least Angel Hernandez could be. Jeez.
I don't even think Angel Hernandez knew he was being bought.
He's like, "Oh, I just like this guy. Will Clark is my guy."
Yeah,
he's gonna get
exactly.
all. Oh man, Levi Hernandez will have a tough time against Will Clark.
Oh, man. Well, you never know. I mean, he might not have been at that point yet. He might not have bought the beer. With Levi Hernandez kept going like into the other person's batter's box and it was strikes.
Well, actually, they're both
Cuban. Was that? Oh.
They're both Cuban, so he had the biggest strike zone of all. Jeez.
Halfway into the left-handed batter's box. Oh, that's so strike.
Yeah,
Catchers are diving across to get it. Strike 3.
Right, ring them up. Oh, jeez. Good times.
Good times.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thank everyone for listening, of course. Please check us out for everything that we got going on. For Alex and Dave, who couldn't make it, for Danny, this is Mark, Bronx Muchachos, signing off.